Welcome, everyone, to the Spirituality and Aging podcast. I always say that backwards, aging and spirituality. So I'm Kathy Lee Taylor.
And I'm Chris Jensen.
And we are happy to have you back again. Today, we're going to talk about something that has actually been on my mind and my heart recently. I've been thinking about how we are really in a battle for the light in the world that is happening before us right now. And so many friends and people that I speak to are struggling in a lot of ways, especially spiritual people who really love to be centered in an awareness of love and peace and bliss and all of those things. It's hard to do when the mind is being distracted all the time by all kinds of news and drama, and it's just a very heightened amount of information that's coming at us all the time now. And that's on the tails of COVID and a pandemic and, people's lives being just like upended and so much uncertainty and not knowing what's going on in the world. So I got asking myself, what really matters most to me right now at this point in my life? And for me, the answer is I want to be of service to a higher good. I want to be able to change the vibration when people are struggling. I want to be able to offer a space where people come into it and they feel loved and they feel nourished and they feel like there is good in the world. There is truth in the world. There is beauty in the world. And we need to connect to that more and more. And it really feels like the natural gift of being alive at this time really is something that a spiritual aspirant thinks about all the time and can give. When your practices bring you to a place of being centered in spirit, it's so much easier to be a loving individual. And right now, that is so valuable in the world. I mean, if you just look around at your neighbors and your friends, you can see all kinds of need for just a calm, serene kind of sanity that you can bring to any kind of situation. So what I really wanted to do is talk about a couple of principles that I learned along the way in my yoga practices. And these aren't yoga principles by any means, but they are things that I learned from doing yoga because I had natural things that I needed to transform and change. There were things about my character, most my character that need to be transformed. And so I kind of developed a system of policing myself in a way that I could look at the things that I needed to change and develop principles around that would help me shift into a more spiritual way of being. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's see here. I think that's kind of the introduction. So let's just kind of go into it. Here's what I'm talking about when I talk about principles. The number one first thing that I talk about actually in my book is connecting with your inner self, or what I often call essence. And you can't do that unless you know how to calm your mind. So this is like a number one practice and principle of doing yoga, and why people like Chris and I meditate twice a day, because sometimes dealing with the ego feels like wrestling an alligator.
Well, it is.
It is exactly like that. It's like it gets a hold of you and it takes you under, and then you fight and fight and fight, and you get up and you're breathing air and it takes you under again. And that's exactly how it feels. And we know, because we've been meditating for a long time, that it is possible to calm the alligator. It is possible to actually put it in a place where it feels like it doesn't have to fight. The ego doesn't have to try to get at you and control things all of the time. So learning to calm your mind is a really, really critical point. Yogis think that humans are a small wave of a very vast ocean of consciousness, and that each one of us has a very unique purpose. So when we learn to still our minds, which again is a challenge, and it's
I
even
was,
more
I
of a
was going to
challenge.
say, what did you do to still your mind? Because that's the tricky thing for most people.
Yes. So this is a daily challenge. Meditation will give you so much. I mean, we talk about this all the time, how meditation can calm the mind instantly. And then, we always laughed about how we would go to yoga class or we'd go to yoga retreat and we'd come down blissful. And it'd be like within a day, we're like, what is going on? Why aren't we maintaining? This is way back in the beginning. Why aren't we maintaining this? And I heard this great story the other day. Eckhart Tolle was talking about this Buddhist monk that he knows that was in a monastery and was so blissful. And when he came out, he talked about how he could maintain these higher states of awareness and how amazing it was. And then he was in the real world for like a month and, found himself getting angry and found himself doing things that he'd never done for many, many years when he was there. So I don't want you to think it's like easy to do this. It is the challenge of the yoga practitioner, the spiritual aspirant, to do stuff every day that helps you keep your mind calm. So number one is definitely meditation. And I know some people really balk at that. I know people that are afraid to meditate. I know people that find it so difficult to meditate, but maybe this is a good place where you could jump in, Chris, and say something about if you find it really like, I know I have friends that are ADHD and they find it very, very difficult to meditate. They find it very difficult to just sit and have that really simple practice of looking at the thoughts, because that raises a kind of anxiety for them to be able to focus on that. So what do you recommend?
Yeah, well, there's some different things you can do. Some people, I mean, any activity you do where time just flies, you can work with that. If there's something where you can just put your attention and that just goes. But there are also, there's walking meditations.
Right.
People can do a walking meditation. They can do breathing while they're walking, or they can do, you could do a gardening meditation. You can be gardening and try to focus your awareness on there. And everybody has trouble at first getting the mind to still, and it's a matter of a little bit of patience and, just being willing to stick to a practice. Like one of the things that I like for people who have a really hard time with that is to think of some beautiful scene or something that's very beautiful that you love, and just try to be aware of that. Just try to put your attention, visualize that, put your attention on that. And that tends to bring a calmer energy so that it's easier to do some of the other techniques.
Well, and this is a really good point that you made, because some people need guided meditation at first. They need to hear words that will help them to calm down. Some people can do that with music.
Yes.
Musicians.
Music is another way to do it. Yeah.
That is a whole different experience for them as well.
Yeah.
If you're an auditory learner as well. If you're an artist, like you said, if an artist knows how to naturally focus because they have the ability to let go of everything else that is going around them and just focus on the art. And that's when they feel like they're in the zone, like a ball player is. That's when they're in the zone and their mind is not winning over. They are able to do whatever it is that they're focusing on with great concentration. And that's, getting to great concentration is something that you learn in meditation. And that's actually an interesting segue, because if you learn to meditate long enough, I don't know that people understand this that haven't done it, but once you get to that place where you can calm the mind at will, and then you can get to a place of one-pointedness and concentration, and you actually get to go past mind and emotions and connect with spirit, that's something that you have to experience by putting your butt on the cushion and doing the practices and doing the meditation on a daily basis. And as you learn to connect with that and bring it back, you then start to develop habits that become reference points. And if I'm not explaining this right, please help me with this, because, I'll be sitting, I don't know, working on a story or something, and and if I want to get really calm instantly, there are certain things that I have now that are trigger points that I can do that will instantly take me into a very peaceful place. And that's one of the great benefits of, doing this practice on a daily basis. You don't have to struggle with it all the time. So breathing can do that. I can put my focus, on my breath coming into my nose, and that will instantly take me in. I'm getting to a better place now as I learn to develop my bhakti, which is another long story. But as I learn to develop bhakti, I can put my attention in my heart, my awareness in my heart, and it will just utterly naturally expand. And I have absolutely no problem calming at that point. So what would you say about those kinds of reference points and how people can learn those?
Yeah, one of the main factors in being able to succeed in yoga is to do something with intensity and repetition.
Right.
And everybody has problems with these things at first. And so you have to make that decision that, okay, I'm going to put the effort in and I'm going to keep going. And maybe I'm not going to have a great experience at first. Maybe I'm not going to succeed at first, but I'm going to keep doing it. You can change any habit, including one of having a completely restless mind, with intensity and repetition. And that's a key factor. And you have to make that decision that you want this.
Right.
And then you're willing to put in the effort to do it. And there are a lot of things you can do, like you were saying, music, and you can look at beautiful art, things like that help you, or have to visualize a beautiful scene, getting into that place, but then doing the practices, consistently.
Yeah, but in case that sounds like a lot of work,
Yeah.
what I want to say about that is that when you have those direct experiences of spirit, which is what yoga is all about, it's, that's why you practice yoga, so you can have direct experiences. And when you do, you will be so enamored and so in love and so, wanting to do it again, that it's not going to feel like work. You can't wait to do it. You can't wait to meditate. You can't wait to put your butt on the chair and do that, or do your postures and relax. And it just becomes a habit that grows and develops new dimensions, and becomes a bigger part of your life all the time.
It's the most fun part of the day. I mean, it really is. I mean, after you've been doing it for a while, you just look forward to it, and how much it's going to bring into your daily life, how much goodness and upliftment, and it doesn't feel like effort after a while at all. It's the place, your happy place, the place you want to go to.
It is your happy place. I love that. Somebody said that to me the other day on the tennis court. I was asking this coach, how do you get out here and hit stinking balls like 10 hours a day? That must drive you crazy. And he looks at me and goes, oh, that's my happy place. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But that is how it feels. Yoga becomes very much your happy place. You know that it's going to enrich your life every day. So it becomes something you give to it, and it keeps on giving. It keeps on giving back.
It does. There is no end to it. There is no end to the goodness you experience. Whatever goodness you experience, there's always more.
Yes, that's the truth. Okay, so I was going to give them a practice for focusing, but I think we'll just do that. Maybe do that at the end if you can think of something that we haven't talked about already. But I'm going to just go on to what is we got the first principle, right? We've got to connect to essence, and to be able to do that, we've got to be able to calm the mind and heart and be able to transcend and bring that higher awareness into your daily experience. So the second principle, and this one might be just me, I don't know. I think other people have probably experienced it, but I needed to learn how to surrender victim consciousness. I was really raised in a family environment where it was very prominent, and I didn't know how much influence it had on my life until I got older and started headbutting up against the limitations that particular way of thinking brings. It's so limiting. And so I learned really quickly in my spiritual practices that if you want to be able to let go of victim consciousness, you have to be 100% responsible for your own life, for your decisions, your actions, your behaviors, everything that you do. And this is a great example of what I'm talking about. When I first started to play tennis, and I sucked, but was not, but wasn't going to admit it. Like, I'm great. I can do this. Like because for people who don't know, I played sports in my youth, and my dad was a youth sports coach, and so I was all lip in. I can do this. This is no big deal. So when I made mistakes, I would blame it on my partner. Oh, she sucks. She can't get over the net. She can't do. So, wow, that went on for months until I was finally like, oh, Kathy, you really need to look at this differently, And I did have a coach that kept saying, just play your side of the court and play your ball, and that's all you have to do, right? So it was being kind without saying, you twerp, just play your ball. Don't worry about what the other gal is doing, But that is the consciousness behind not being somebody that the world is doing stuff to. You need to be responsible for who you are and for what you are doing, the decisions you're making on a daily basis. If you listen to the voices in your head, you can see the drama going on clearly when it comes to victim consciousness. People are not kind to me. The world is hard on me, this kind of stuff. And so this disempowering kind of way of thinking shows that you really don't understand what the source of creation is. That the source of creation is when you do connect to your inner self and you start to learn how to manifest that unique purpose, and that unique sense of who you are starts to come through you, God's
your own inner power.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, say a little bit about what that feels like to have that connection and have the sense of, I am co-creating in the world here. There's no victim here. I am very empowered.
Yeah, there's a very strong sense of who you really are, which isn't, the ego and all its fears, but there's a sense that whatever you really need or want to happen, you have the power within you, within your inner self, to facilitate that, to open yourself up to that happening.
Right.
And that's an amazing thing. One of the things that happens as you get in touch with the inner self is fears start to go away.
Sure.
And there's this courage, like the navel chakra, we talk about that, is that opens as energy enters there. There's tremendous flows of courage, courage that you didn't think you had before.
Yeah.
And, and that victim consciousness is just gone. It's just gone.
Yes.
And there's never a need to blame anyone else for anything or to blame yourself for anything.
Right.
There's a problem, you fix it. You make a mistake, you correct it. There's no blame necessary.
Right. And you just said no blaming yourself either. That's blame and shame. Women are great at shaming themselves.
Yep.
We get that message at such a young age.
Right.
And
right.
it's so disempowering for us.
Yeah.
And it's something that we really struggle with into our later years.
Yeah.
Yes, when you do connect and you feel empowered by the energy that is you, the uniqueness that is you, you feel like you're getting guidance on what it is that you do every day. So there is no room for that kind of weak consciousness. It is very confused and fearful. Like you were saying, courage comes up when you're connected to yourself. Also, sometimes when you're learning to let go of that victim consciousness and you are connecting to that inner self, you will have fears come up because you need to deal with them and you need to let go of them. So that's part of the process as well. But underneath that is a current of what you are talking about. When you start to get to that place where you're completely clear about who you are, do feel that clarity, you have that confidence and that courage to be authentic. And that's what I do a lot of coaching with people on, is just getting to that place where you can be clear, confident, and courageous. This is who you are. Like it's a bit like I'm sure you have the same thing. And some of the people that I've coached, it's so easy for me to see when when their soul pops through, you can see it. And you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Right
everything lights up. Everything lights up. Yeah.
It does. Everything lights up, the face, but and there's this alignment of energy. There's this flow and alignment of energy that becomes very clear. And it's funny because I'll know it like instantly, and I'll stop and I'll go, there it is, there you are. And they'll be like, what? And they'll have that sense, they'll have that very innate kind of, oh, okay, this is me, I can be this, and they get like a shiver, goes through them, like, oh yeah, this is me. And for whatever reason, they've hid that part of them, and then all of a sudden it's shining through. Best part about helping somebody out is seeing that shine through and start to grow and learn to express more and more and more, and then become this creative, empowered, woman, person in the world. It's really the most amazing process ever. So that's when you start to really learn to be a co-creator,
Yep.
So, okay. So those are the things that I really wanted to talk about today. Is there any tip or exercise that you want to give anybody, or you think we're good to go here?
I think we're good to go.
Okay.
I think that's a lot to work with.
It
and
is.
Be open to. I think
It
we're good
is.
to go. Yeah.
Yes, but again, of course, if you have any questions, how to
Always available. Yeah.
Right. And my website, or Chris at the Yoga Center. And thank you for joining us. We're so happy that you're coming and listening to our cast, and we're getting feedback that people are really benefiting from this, listening to two people that have been doing yoga for as long as we have. Oftentimes people can hear things that they would love to ask somebody, but don't know who to ask, so it's really great. And
we have different experiences, so we're,
oh my God,
we get
everybody
some different
does.
perspectives. So.
Everybody does. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
See you next
Thank
week.
you. See you soon.
Take care.
Bye.